Welcome back everyone. In this video I make something for my wife, something to help her in the garden with. A little stool made out of Douglas fir where she can sit on. It's gonna have a little box where she can put some stuff in, as you will see later. And she asked me for this because when she works in the garden together with her mother, then they always need something to sit on, and they only have these little plastic stools which are not very handy, not very useful. So she asked me to make something else, and I did some research on the internet, and then I came up with a great idea, I think, and I'm gonna show you here. As always, I start with the glue up. And since I have lots of these shorter Douglas fir boards kicking around in my storage area, I decide, okay, let's just, it's not they are not the best quality, but for that purpose they would do great. And the good thing about those boards is they come in a very handy size, so I do not need to do a lot of breakout with my machines. So pretty much I can just grab them and glue them together, and then I only need to plane them and cut them to the right length that I want and to the right width. So it's pretty easy. As I mentioned in other videos before, I usually do the glue up a day or two before I do the assembly or the actual build of that piece, because I think it's always better to have a piece that's glued together, to have it dry overnight. Technically, you do not necessarily need to do that. Sometimes, or it always depends on the wood, the glue, and of course the temperature and the moisture. Sometimes you only need to wait for an hour or so until you can proceed with your work. But yeah, like I said, I usually prefer to have everything dried overnight, so that I can be sure that everything is solid and would not fall apart once I remove the clamps. So here it is already the next day. I remove the clamps and everything is as I wanted. Then I move over to my thickness planer, and like I mentioned in other videos before, I do not aim for a certain thickness. Here I pretty much only wait until I get a nice surface. I think here it's about around 20 millimeters ish thickness, and then I just proceed, and in this case I made a little drawing just for myself to remind me of the rough measurements. And I did not, like I said, I did not aim for a certain thickness, so I just adjusted the drawing that I had once I have everything planed, so that I can make everything to the right dimension. I trimmed those boards on my table saw, and I also mentioned this before, you always want to use the right blade for the right purpose. And since I do here pretty much just some rip cuts, I make sure that I use the ripping blade, because the result is so much better than with the universal blade that I used years ago before. And of course, you definitely do not want to use a crosscut blade for this. I see this all the time on YouTube videos where people make something on the table saw, and if you look at the blade that they use, very often they use, yeah, just a crosscut blade, and well, it definitely works, but the result is definitely not as you want it. And also it's a little harder to push it through your machine, the cut stock. And also it kind of makes, in my experience, the blade won't last a lot shorter than with the ripping blade. Then I move over to my miter saw, and then I cut everything to the right length. It's the whole project was pretty much done on, I think, less than a day if you exclude the dry time for the glue up, but the assembly only, I think I had everything done within 3 to 4 hours, and this also includes the time of shooting everything with my camera. So it's a very very easy project, but I still had a lot of fun. Back at my table saw, and as you see here, I always, or what I do always on every pretty much every project, I use a folding ruler or a tape measure to set the position for the fence, because I do not really trust the ruler that is on the table saw. And I would highly recommend, if you do it the same method like me, I would highly recommend to always use the same measurement, the same measure device, like if you use a folding ruler or a tape measure or whatever, always use the same, because it is arguably, but I really think that's the case, is that even though you have two different tape measures which have the same product, same brand or so, but they can still measure a bit different. So I would highly recommend to always use, if you do this, the same tape measure. Next thing will be to one on each side to longer holes to make it easier to carry around that stool, and I want to cut those holes with a jigsaw. And here you can see again why I really love my workbench, because it makes everything so easy to clamp. And now I can right here I can cut out the holes with my jigsaw, and the clamps are more in the middle of that table, so they won't be in the way of the path for the jigsaw. So I do not need to unclamp it and clamp it on the other side, or clamp it somehow different, just to make some room for the jigsaw. Yeah, this is really what I really like on that table. Then I just remove the sharp edges with the file. But it does not. There's no need in this case to have everything like 100% perfect. I only use screws to hold everything together, and for that kinda stuff, I prefer panhead screws. I for depends on what you build. If you really need like 100% smooth surface, then for sure you want to go with countersink flathead screws. But if it's not necessarily, I would always recommend panhead screws, because, and this is just my opinion, I think if you screw two pieces of wood together, flathead screws or panhead screws, they they tighten everything a little bit better, and and this is again just my opinion, I think they hold better than the countersink screws. But yeah, like I said, this is just my opinion. Okay, I think we are almost there. So this is the little box where you can store things, and everything is, like I said, just held by screws. I use a clamp here to make my life easier when I screw everything together. But overall, it's a very simple project. I think everyone with a few tools can do that. You might not even need a table saw. You can just buy boards, some boards from a box store, and cut it on your miter saw, or even with a handsaw or a jigsaw or whatever you have. You can make that project happen. I think it's a really cool beginner's project. I always use that little I don't even know what the English name is for this, but this little metal needle, I could say, to make some little tiny holes. And the only reason for this is so that I do not slip with my drill. So here I'm working on this seat, which will also be the cover or the lid of that box, and I use for this I think, what is it called? I think in German it's called a piano hinge. I don't know if you could say this in English, but well, whatever, you will know what it is. And I had this left over from another project, and I thought, okay, this would really work pretty good on that project too. So I just used it, cut it with a hacksaw to the right length. Actually, I cut it, I think, a few mils shorter so that it fits better. Then I screw on the first side. So for this for the lid to fit the lid and to make to find the holes for the hinge, I used a little trick here. So first I noticed that the lid is a bit too long, so I trimmed it down a bit on my miter saw, and then I fit it in. I think it was still a little bit too long, so I trimmed it down again. And here I use some double-sided tape, which is always helpful if you want to bring two or more things together, and you only have two hands. Then I mark all those holes for the screws, and then I remove it from the other side, and I pre-drilled it, and then I remove the tape again, because you don't want to have it there later. It's this tape that I use is really sticky, but it is really helpful, as I mentioned before. All right, just a few screws left, and I think then we are almost done. For this, I didn't apply any stain or oil or paint on the little stool. I think since it's only for us, I think it's not really necessary. And I also kind of like if when you make something and it will get kind of stained by nature, or stained by the elements, that, let's say, I for depends on what I make, but sometimes I really like that, so I didn't apply any finish on this here. And yeah, I think I mentioned before, it was still a bit too long, so I trimmed the lid down again. But now it fits. Now it fits perfectly. Okay, I think this is on the next day, because I of course you want something to hold the lid down, and I didn't had anything, so I went to the Home Depot the other day and bought something. But again, this whole project, if you have everything ready, like I didn't here, but you can still make everything just within three or 4 hours or so. All right, I think that's it. Like I said, it's a little project, a small project, but I still had a lot of fun making it, and my wife, she already likes it. All right, that's it. If you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up, write a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. See you next time.